caught up are you on the Stellar Blade stuff?
I know that recently there has been a little bit of censorship, as people have been calling it, and then people are now turning on Sony and being like, "Release the prop, give us back Stellar Blade." It's mainly GRUMMZ and those kinds of people.
One of the things was the graffiti that said "hard R," which it didn't actually say "hard R." It was like hard. The graffiti said "hard" and it was next to "R store," so it's kind of said "hard R." And
as far as I can tell, this seems to be the main point of contention. I didn't know about the hard R thing. We'll have to look into that maybe, but like. So this is there was friggin' what's the Shift Up or Sony, both of them promoted this game before as it's going to be uncensored in all countries. They literally said that, uncensored in all countries. Okay, and so this is one of the outfits that she would be able to access. You know what I mean? And this is how it looked. And then I guess upon release, though, it does not look like that. Exactly.
Really?
It's
They can't let people do a slut mob? Come on.
It looks like that.
Okay, but
was there a difference? Did I miss something? Oh.
So I mean, from what I can tell, right, Dane, this is probably the reaction.
Really big boobs.
The reaction to this, I can imagine, is probably just something very calm and collected, as if, you know what, this wasn't what we were promised, but okay, so well, it's still almost the same outfit. Let's just move on, right?
Right.
That's
it's also and that's the reason why this Mark Kern's guy has apparently managed to accumulate this little army of gremlins or something that, like, actually it's the opposite of what you said. They are very upset.
Shocker.
Very fucking upset. And if you can go, there's a change.org petition and whatnot, and you can like upload video, clips of yourself giving your reason and stuff. And so some guys did. And
if they get enough signatures on the change online petition, they will definitely have to change it. That's a legal law. They don't.
That's Obama made that rule. All right, so here we go.
Hey guys, it's VB Christian. My name is on the petition. Sony, this means war. Woke mob, this means war. GRUMMZ, you have my sword and you have my shield. So let's get this ball rolling and let's finally hashtag free Stellar Blade.
Okay, that's just dipping your toes in. This is actually, I did this on purpose. I put the most, like, maybe it's a little awkward socially, like, first. It gets more uncomfortable from here, just as a warning.
Yeah, because I mean, this is like I didn't like this. To me, just seems like the kind of person I'd imagine being a fan of GRUMMZ. Where it's kind of, I don't know. I don't have much to say about it.
Let's end this. God bless.
I just think it's unfortunate we know who GRUMMZ is.
This petition is not only to free Stellar Blade, but to send a clear message to Sony, Nintendo, and the rest of the publishers in the gaming industry that we players will not tolerate any form of censorship moving forward. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey, and I think this petition needs to come through to have all of the creators who
please uncensor Stellar Blade. Games would be fun that way. Oh boy.
Because it doesn't appeal, because it appeals to the male gaze. They really need to stop using that. Sony, you need to make Shift Up.
I mean, men need to stop using the male gaze, probably, so like the thing is that there's a lot of people on Twitter that are just like making fun of these guys, and like and that's low effort bullshit. Like, okay, you're not really helping anything there. The sad thing is how much these guys have just like hung everything on this. In some cases, it seems like and there we could get into a deeper conversation about like the state of the country and culture in general, that like that this is all some people have, you know what I mean? Like, and they don't have a healthy relationship to stuff, to where like a piece of cloth right here is like causing them fucking literal distress and yeah.
Well, I mean, I do feel like there is a situation where we have a lot of guys that just aren't comfortable talking to women. So like this is kind of their relationship to women is like this video game character. And you know, hey, I like pretty women video game characters too. I frequently
I think all three of us, we like booba. We're booba fans.
Yeah, I'm down with boobs. Stellar, the main character in Celebrate looks quite attractive to me. But I don't care that much if there's a little bit more cloth on that costume. It's such a minor thing.
I mean, aside from the fact that like they're repeatedly, we're hearing them say censorship, and it's like, there's a real problem. It's like actually a huge problem. The more time goes on, like, and you hear people using the, you know, oh, censorship, blah blah. And it's like, we have failed as a country. Like, you over there in Denmark are probably looking at us like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with these people over
all the time?
Yeah.
I mean there's people like this in Denmark too. I guess there's the point. I guess there's like a part of this where it's, of course, there's like a little something to be said about, okay, Sony promised one thing and they didn't deliver. You know, they gave something else, right? But if you choose to make these small differences that really shouldn't matter that much, if you choose to make this your fight and something that like, I'm going to war for this,
right?
I just don't think that's going to be very helpful towards a lot of these people. And I think a lot of these men that we've just seen, they aren't happy. You know, it's things pretty clear to see by looking at them. They aren't happy. And then this is the fight that I think they feel they can take. They feel that this is the fight that they have to take. And it's just not it.
No.
If we just look purely on gaming, there's plenty of things within gaming that as a gamer, I'm very critical of, that I think needs to change or needs to be addressed for the gaming industry to get better, because there are a lot of issues. And then also just from like a social point of view, you know, if you choose, like, if, as you mentioned, this whole, like the woke thing, you know, the ruining beauty standards, and you choose to make this fight based on this video game, where it's like, and the difference is really a cleavage. That's the main difference here.
There's also
it's not doing much for you.
It's not just cleavage, okay? It's also, so right here, right here,
yeah. Obviously, there's a difference. It's also weird. Like, one of them has glasses, but
I definitely
which is a plus for me. Like, I love chicks with glasses, so like that's
the same.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not denying that there is differences between some of these outfits, and that Sony did promise one thing and they didn't deliver. You know, they did something else. That is something that happened.
That is something that Sony has done before in a few different cases.
Yeah,
they do that a lot.
When PS2 was out, they promised you will never have to pay for online gaming, and our console will always be backwards compatible.
Yep.
Now we got
realized,
PS5.
wait a second, that's cutting off two big revenue streams for us in the future. We gotta
exactly
get back on that. So I mean, the real problems are this, right? Like the real issues are, you know, corporations always, just like in every example, basically the corporation at the top of things takes a heap of credit or blame. You know, and sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, because the game is still the same game. You know, you're still having a pretty good game from all the reviews I've seen from the demo that I played. It's a pretty good game in terms of graphics and gameplay and just like the world building in general. You still have a hot main character with pretty lewd outfits and stuff, like pretty sexy outfits.
You still have Pornhub. Like, you just pause the game, go to Pornhub. There's probably going to be plenty of chicks dressed like this in doing porn now.
Dude,
you know
like, there's probably going to be like a Stellar Blade porn genre after this.
Yes.
But I mean, there are the gameplay footage we saw there where it's like, we're just looking at her butt. Like, that's just her butt right there.
Yeah. the game has fantastic jingle physics. I
Yes.
will not deny it.
And I will say one critique I'd give the game at this point is that, like, apparently it's a good game, but I've barely heard anything about the actual game. All I've heard about this game so far is how hot this lead character is. And it's like,
it's either about how hot the female
Mm.
character is, or just how bad modern Hollywood is, or like how bad modern gaming is, because they aren't making more characters look like this. You know, it's the conversation is just purely about the physical attractiveness of the main character, and that's a shame when the game behind it is actually pretty good.
Well, there's another aspect of it that gets talked about, but not enough in the right way. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to, real quick, talk about Mr. Mark Kern, GRUMMZ.
Yes.
I did not.
So he's the guy, as you see on the petition there. You've been online, seen any of this stuff, you've probably seen him around saying really silly shit. But somehow he has managed to become Grift King in this scenario. And so from reading from a 2013 article from Tech in Asia called "The Rise and Fall of Mark Kern: How One Man May Have Doomed Firefall and the Nine." And it's an updated article. Chinese game developer and publisher The9, I don't know, has been betting big over the past few years on Firefall, an MMOFPS being developed by the US-based studio Red 5. Let's see. So basically, this is it's a big deal. This is the studio's putting a lot into this, right? So and this was written right after basically Firefall had come out, and it was not doing very well. It had not gained popularity the way that everybody had hoped. The hype had suggested it would. So the company removed Red 5 CEO Mark Kern from his position shortly before that Christmas, and it raised questions about the future of the project and about Kern's leadership and the degree to which he's responsible for some of Firefall's failings. He came to Red 5 Studios with an incredible pedigree, having worked on a number of Blizzard's most popular titles, including StarCraft and StarCraft Brood Wars, before closing out his time there as team lead for World of Warcraft. Given his experience with competitive esports titles, he seemed like an ideal man for the helm. So they were hoping it would be this Firefall would be the massively multiplayer hit and a game with a tight, balanced enough PvP to make a splash in the esports scene. And he came through in the nick of time. Blah blah blah. So they put a lot into this guy. A lot of hope went into him whenever they brought him in, and it seemed reasonable to maybe do so. But after he was fired, he released a somewhat cryptic statement, which he called his time at Red 5 his own Kobayashi Maru, which, Turf, I know you know what that is. A reference to the fictional Star Trek training exercise that is designed to be impossible in order to test candidates' response to a no-win situation. The implication seemed to be that his failure was inevitable, presumably because he was tasked with developing a game that could not be successful. But this weekend, as in, I guess back in 2013, anonymous Red 5 employee took to Reddit to question his narrative, posting a lengthy diatribe that accused Kern of a litany of mistakes and overreaches. And then this writer spoke with the Reddit poster named Brutal Whimsy, seen documents that confirm his identity as a Red 5 employee. So in the post, he alleges that Kern vastly overspent in ill-advised promotional stunts that failed to pan out. He basically spent millions to promote a game that was still in alpha. Millions to promote a game that was still in alpha.
Damn.
Kern, for example, established a separate video production team, outfitting it with Red brand production gear, among the best and most expensive in the industry, an ever-expanding staff, and separate soundstage. The team was used to make live-action Firefall videos, but it also worked on the vaguely related and stillborn series Game Changers and several completely unrelated projects. I mean, that's just crazy sounding shit. Like, he's just doing all kinds of shit that has nothing to do with actually producing the game. So this is the one that I remember laughing at whenever I saw Dead Domain talk about this. So Brutal Whimsy also cited another Kern-driven promotional project that went horribly awry, the creation of a Firefall-themed bus that was meant to serve as a mobile promotional tool and a mobile server from which to host competitions via LAN while the game was still in beta. And let me show you what that looks like here. This bus, it's pretty crazy. Let's see. Bus contract was given to West Coast Customs, the vehicle shop that tricked out cars for MTV's Pimp My Ride. But apparently they botched things, going over budget and delivering the van both late and missing some of its key features. It missed premieres at all the major conferences and now sits in a warehouse somewhere collecting dust.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That was not what I was expecting.
I don't think that's what anybody was expecting, but like, it's
Damn.
just this hideous fucking, vehicle embodiment of this guy just fucking up left and right, basically.
It looks hideous, and it also looks probably pretty fucking expensive.
Yeah,
it's
millions.
really expensive.
And like it said, it was not. It was only they was only going to use it to take it to premieres. For one thing, in Asia, when I don't know how he planned to get it from the U.S. to Asia or anything.
You drive it, of course.
It didn't go that far because it wasn't completed in time, and then whenever he got it, it wasn't completed anyway. Like, it's just, what it reminds me of? Community. You've seen the KFC space shuttle. It reminds me exactly of that. I'm not trying to like paint this guy as like he's just, you can't trust him, but like you kind of can't trust him. I am trying to paint him that way, I guess. So let's see.
It does kind of seem like he worked for Blizzard, and he worked for honestly some of the biggest games when I was gaming a lot. Honestly, StarCraft and Diablo 2. Holy shit, I played the fuck out of those games.
Yeah, he did some good shit, and I think it just kind of went to his head, maybe.
Yeah, and he was able to ride that to a lot of his career after that. And
there's the inside of the bus.
At best after that.
Yeah, and so what it reminds me of is a story we've seen play out several times, where like some guy gets some level of success in some industry, and then isn't able to maintain that, but then decides, essentially, to me, it seems like what happens is in their mind they think, I'm entitled to something anyway. Even though I wasn't able to maintain that success, even though I wasn't able to like repeat it or anything, I'm still entitled to the benefits. And so then they grift.
Yeah.
Ethan Van Sciver, for example.
Yeah.
Perhaps more damaging than that, overspending on his promotional failures was his impact when he actually did get involved with Firefall's development. So he would swoop in one afternoon and berate a series of features several teams had spent months on, declaring they'd begin again and listen to what he told them to do. He'd be back in a few days to see if it was done. This crushed morale, forced people into spontaneous, isolated crunch mode. He would shout and scream his perspectives. He would ignore anything that didn't fit his immediate viewpoint, which was subject to sudden, violent changes. He would rage email people in the small hours of the night or on weekends. Spout bile and vitriol to the point where he gave some employees, mostly his production crew, access to a safe word.
What the fuck?
This was in case he was being particularly verbally abusive. Someone could yell it out or email it to him, and he would clam up. He had the misguided notion that he could write quality fiction and would force feed it to members of the writing team. He's fired people on the spot, berating and screaming at them publicly, thrown temper tantrums and objects around the office.
So just a massive fucking asshole.
Yeah, just like
real quick, this is why computer software video game people, they need unions.
Yes.
Not to put up with this shit.
Yeah, good point. That's what I'm just trying to say, basically, is that, like, man, this guy's a grifter, and he's done what so many fucking just, I don't know, entitled, maybe lazy, maybe they got lucky once or twice, or maybe they were really talented at one point, but then like the success goes to their head and they just like completely abandon whatever was inspiring them that made them successful in the first place. I don't know. But then they still have that mentality that they are owed something, and that every fucking time it seems like, young, or not even some cases not super young, but men are isolated men. In some cases, if we look at more of these videos, I think autistic men become the fucking marks for these guys, and it pisses me the fuck off as someone who's on the spectrum myself. it really fucking pisses me off that just repeatedly, you know. But, you know, of course, it's not 100% on him because, like we talked about before, the conditions are ripe for somebody to come along and do that with these guys.
For sure, yeah.
So, anyway, that's that.
Damn.
I didn't know that much about him. I mean, team lead for World of War. Well, I mean, that's really what strikes me about it. So, team lead to World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
that's that's the biggest MMO of all time, still to this day. Fucking massive fucking game. A huge opportunity, a huge spot on a resume. But also, it's easy to forget, like, that game was almost destined. Unless they completely shit the bed, that game was almost destined to be really great.
Right.
So it's almost like he was almost gifted that spot. When I remember when that game was in development, like, there were MMOs, but like none had really, like, probably EverQuest got the closest to kind of being the big one.
It's pretty popular.
Blizzard put time and money into World of Warcraft and released it, and it took over. It took over the landscape. That's a huge spot on your resume, but it was almost kind of
that's impressive.
And he kind of acted like, oh, I should be able to do more stuff like that. And it's like, you're not gonna repeat that.
Yeah. And it's oftentimes when people have had a lot of success early on in their career, and then they have that big blunder where it just kind of seems to come crashing down.
Yeah.
There's like the two roads people take. It's either trying to get, you know, learn from their mistakes and be, you know what, maybe I got a bit into my head, you know, maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was, you know, I still have things to learn. Let me try to get back. And, you know, then a lot of people can find success that way. Or they do this other route where it's, you know what, everything is against me. I'm just going to fuck it all, you know?
It's because of wokeness.
Exactly. And you start blaming a lot of things because you just can't accept the fact that you just failed.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, you know, but it's like some people just take it as they take it really poorly and they don't learn from it and they don't.
I mean, occasionally you hit a home run. Most of the time you're going to strike out, though, and you just got to roll with it.
Some people don't listen to Yoda from The Last Jedi, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
But weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher failure is.
The obscene entry you submitted in the Greendale School Flag Contest. That's right. I know that this isn't a symbol for the crossroads of ideas. I now know it's a but. Yeah, keep
The hardest choices require the strongest will.